Let me tell you something uncomfortable, but necessary. The reason many people will never feel rich has very little to do with money. It has everything to do with how they think, what they value, and what they chase when no one is watching. You see, richness is not the absence of need, it is the presence of purpose. And when purpose is missing, no amount of income will ever be enough. You can double your salary, triple your assets, stack titles, trophies, and applause, but if your identity is tied to comparison, you will always feel behind. There will always be someone faster, louder, younger, or richer. And if that's your measuring stick, you've already lost. Here's the truth. Money is a terrible master and a dangerous goal. It's a tool, not a destination. When you aim your life at money, you end up living in fear of losing it, fear of not having enough, fear of being exposed. But when you aim your life at growth, discipline, and service, money becomes a byproduct, not a burden. Many people don't feel rich because they confuse pleasure with fulfillment. Pleasure is momentary. Fulfillment is earned. Pleasure asks, what can I get right now? Fulfillment asks, who must I become to deserve tomorrow? One keeps you hungry. The other makes you whole. Psychologically speaking, the mind adapts quickly to comfort. What once felt like luxury becomes normal. That's why external wealth alone can never satisfy an internal void. If you don't develop gratitude, self-respect, and direction, your desires will always outrun your possessions. And when desire outruns discipline, anxiety moves in. True wealth is waking up with clarity. It's knowing your values and living in alignment with them. It's having the discipline to delay gratification and the humility to keep learning. It's being able to sit alone with your thoughts and not feel empty. That's rich. If you want to feel rich, stop asking how much you can accumulate and start asking how much you can contribute. Stop chasing validation and start building character. Stop trying to look successful and start becoming effective. Because in the end, the people who feel rich aren't the ones who have the most. They're the ones who need the least, serve the most, and sleep in peace at night. And that is real wealth. Feeling rich is not a number on a bank statement. It is a condition of the mind. Many people believe that once they cross a certain financial threshold, contentment will automatically arrive. But the human mind does not work that way. It adapts, it recalibrates, and it raises the standard the moment the old one is met. What once felt like abundance quickly becomes normal, and what becomes normal no longer satisfies. This is why people who earn more often feel no more fulfilled than those who earn less. The problem was never income. It was expectation. Richness begins with perspective. If your sense of worth is tied solely to accumulation, you are trapped in a race with no finish line. There will always be another level, another benchmark, another person ahead of you. When fulfillment is postponed until someday, life becomes a constant state of waiting. Waiting to feel successful. Waiting to feel secure. Waiting to finally feel enough. And in that waiting, peace is quietly sacrificed. A wealthy mindset understands that money is a resource, not an identity. It is something you manage, not something that defines you. When people feel poor despite having more than enough, it is usually because they lack gratitude and clarity. Gratitude grounds you in what is already present, while clarity reminds you why you are doing what you do. Without these, even abundance feels like scarcity, because the mind is always focused on what is missing instead of what is meaningful. Psychologically, the brain rewards progress more than possession. Growth creates satisfaction. Stagnation creates frustration. When your life is built around learning, contribution, and discipline, a quiet confidence develops, one that does not depend on applause or comparison. That confidence is often mistaken for wealth, but it is something far more powerful, self-respect. To feel rich, you must redefine success internally before you ever experience it externally. You must know when you have enough, or you will never have enough. You must learn to value time, peace, and integrity as much as money, or money will always feel insufficient. Richness is not about how much comes in. It's about how grounded you feel when nothing is coming at all. When your mindset is rooted in purpose and appreciation, wealth becomes a companion, not a craving. And that is when you stop chasing the feeling of being rich and finally start living it. Comparison is one of the most destructive habits of the modern mind. It quietly steals joy, distorts reality, and convinces intelligent people that they are failing when, in truth, they are simply on a different path. The moment you begin measuring your life against someone else's highlight reel, you surrender control over your sense of worth. Your progress stops being evaluated by growth and effort and starts being judged by position. That is a losing game. Psychologically, comparison rewires the brain toward dissatisfaction. No matter how far you've come, there will always be someone ahead of you in money, status, or recognition. If ahead is your definition of success, then success becomes permanently out of reach. You might earn more, achieve more, or improve more, but the finish line keeps moving because it was never yours to begin with. The danger of comparison is that it ignores context. You don't see the sacrifices, the stress, the broken relationships, or the quiet regrets behind someone else's success. You only see the surface. And when you compare your behind-the-scenes struggles to someone else's polished outcome, you create a false narrative that you are behind in life. That narrative, repeated often enough, becomes belief. And belief shapes behavior. Comparison also kills gratitude. The moment your focus shifts to what others have, your own progress feels insignificant. What once felt like achievement now feels like failure simply because someone else has more. This creates a psychological poverty that no amount of money can cure. You could be standing in abundance and still feel deprived because your attention is pointed in the wrong direction. Intellectually mature people understand this. Life is not a race, it is a responsibility. Your responsibility is not to outrun others, but to fulfill your own potential. When you stop comparing, you free mental energy to build, to learn, and to refine your character. You start asking better questions, not why don't I have what they have, but who am I becoming through this process? The moment you detach your self-worth from comparison, something powerful happens. Peace enters, focus sharpens, rest accelerates. You begin to appreciate your own timeline, your own lessons, and your own victories, no matter how small they seem to the outside world. And when comparison no longer controls you, you stop feeling poor in the presence of others' success. You begin to feel rich in your own growth, your own discipline, and your own direction. That shift alone is worth more than any paycheck. Money does not change who you are, it reveals who you have been all along. This is a truth many people avoid because it places responsibility where it belongs, on the individual, not the circumstances. If someone is anxious, undisciplined, or insecure without money, those traits do not disappear with wealth, they intensify. Money simply gives those qualities more room to express themselves. Psychologically, money functions as a magnifier. It removes certain limitations, but it does not provide direction. Without internal structure, values, discipline, self-awareness, financial freedom often leads to chaos rather than peace. This is why you see people who earn more yet feel more stressed, more isolated, and more afraid of losing what they have gained. The problem is not money, it is the absence of inner stability. If you lack confidence, money may buy status, but it will never buy self-respect. If you lack discipline, money may buy comfort, but it will never buy control. If you lack purpose, money may buy distraction, but it will never buy fulfillment. Wealth does not correct character flaws, it exposes them. It shines a light on habits, priorities, and insecurities that were already present, just hidden by limitation. This is why developing character before chasing wealth is not optional. It is essential. Integrity, emotional regulation, patience, and humility are internal assets. Without them, external assets become liabilities. Money in the hands of an undisciplined mind creates impulsive decisions. Money in the hands of a fearful mind creates hoarding and paranoia. Money in the hands of an ego-driven mind creates isolation. True financial maturity begins with self-mastery. When you learn to manage your time, your emotions, and your impulses, you are already practicing wealth. Long before money enters the picture, at that point, money becomes a tool that serves your values instead of a force that controls your behavior. People who feel rich understand this deeply. They do not look to money to fix their problems or define their worth. They see it as an extension of who they are becoming. When character leads, money follows with less friction and fewer regrets. So if you want wealth to bring peace instead of pressure, build yourself first. Strengthen your mindset, refine your habits, and clarify your purpose. Because when money finally arrives, it will not make you better. It will simply make you more of what you already are. Many people believe happiness is found in accumulation, but what they actually experience is anxiety. The more they chase, the heavier life feels. This happens because accumulation without meaning creates a constant sense of pressure to maintain, to protect, and to prove. Purpose, on the other hand, creates direction, and direction reduces mental noise. When life is driven by purpose, decisions become simpler. You know what deserves your energy and what does not. But when life is driven by accumulation alone, everything feels urgent. Every opportunity looks like a threat or a shortcut. Psychologically, this keeps the nervous system in a state of alert, always scanning for more, always afraid of missing out. That is not ambition, that is exhaustion. Purpose satisfies a deeper human need than pleasure ever can. Pleasure asks for stimulation. Purpose provides meaning. One fades quickly, the other compounds over time. When your actions are connected to something larger than your ego, growth, contribution, mastery, you experience a sense of internal order. That order produces calm. Calm is often mistaken for boredom by those addicted to chaos, but it is actually a sign of alignment. Anxiety grows when there is no clear enough. Accumulation without purpose has no endpoint. There is always another goalpost, another standard to reach. This creates a perpetual sense of insufficiency. Even success feels temporary because it is not anchored to values. Purpose gives success context. It allows you to recognize progress without becoming enslaved by it. People who feel fulfilled are not constantly asking, what's next? In a desperate way, they are engaged in the process, not obsessed with the outcome. They understand that meaning comes from consistency, not from dramatic wins. This mindset reduces anxiety because it shifts focus from control to commitment. From a psychological standpoint, purpose stabilizes identity. When your identity is rooted in contribution and growth, external fluctuations, money, recognition, approval, lose their power to destabilize you. You become resilient. You may still want more, but you are no longer desperate for it. Accumulation feeds the ego, purpose feeds the soul. One makes you restless, the other makes you grounded. When purpose leads, wealth becomes supportive rather than stressful. And that is why people who chase meaning often feel richer than those who chase numbers. Delayed gratification is the quiet discipline that separates lasting fulfillment from temporary satisfaction. In a world designed to reward impulse, the ability to wait has become a rare form of power. Most people want the reward without the process, the outcome without the transformation. But psychologically, the mind values what it earns far more than what it receives easily. What company too fast rarely stays long. When you delay gratification, you are training self-respect. You are telling yourself that your future matters more than your present urge. This creates internal trust, the confidence that you can rely on your own decisions. That trust is foundational to any form of real wealth. Without it, money slips through your hands because there is no structure holding it in place. Service plays a critical role in this process. When your actions are rooted in contribution rather than consumption, your perspective expands. You stop seeing life as a transaction and start seeing it as a responsibility. Psychologically, service reduces entitlement and increases fulfillment because it shifts attention away from the self. The mind becomes less anxious when it is useful. People who feel rich understand that value precedes reward. They invest time, effort, and energy before expecting returns. They build skills before demanding recognition. They give before they receive. This sequence is not moral, it is practical. It aligns with how growth actually works. Seeds are planted before harvest, not after. Delayed gratification also strengthens emotional regulation. You become less reactive, less impulsive, and more intentional. Over time, this creates a sense of control that money alone can never provide. Control over your habits, your responses, and your priorities is a form of wealth that cannot be taken from you. Service reinforces this discipline by reminding you that success is not isolated. Every meaningful achievement is connected to others. Teachers, mentors, teams, communities. When you serve, you stay grounded. When you stay grounded, success does not distort your character. True wealth is built internally first. It is patience when you could rush, discipline when you could indulge, and generosity when you could hoard. When these qualities are in place, external success feels stable rather than overwhelming. People who practice delayed gratification and service don't just build wealth, they build peace. And peace, sustained over time, is the highest return on any investment.